you also spoke about one thing, which is stress, Shayamal, and that's, I've been doing a lot of focus work around stress, right? And there is good stress and there is bad stress. And in a game, how do you balance both? Because stress is stress, right, at the end of the day. And in that 90-minute, you can't really, your mind cannot dabble what is good and bad. But how do you coach people to manage that and have that equilibrium and let stress come in, but let it be in a good way rather than a bad way?
So the ability, use stress is the positive stress, and stress is obviously the negative impact of it on the brain. So what is good and what is bad?
Yeah.
Right? The situation is the same. The thing that makes it good is when it's able to raise your performance, and the thing that makes it bad is when your performance sort of drops, even though the situation could be exactly the same. Now, in my experience, what I found can take a normal situation that is stressful and turn it into a eustress where it becomes a motivator and positive is fundamentally comes down to the amount of work and the amount of practice you've done in there. And in sport, we have a word, it's called transferability, which means that, for you to take a skill from practice into competition, right, the situation in which you practice it has to be as close to mimicking reality as possible. Then you get what's called skill transferability. So for most people who are trying to manage stress in their life, I ask a corporate person, what stresses you? And they say, conversations with my boss. Great. At least we've been able to put a pin in the ground. Most people don't even know what stresses them out. That's the biggest problem. If you don't know what's knocking your center, you got no way of course correcting it. So what's happening is they've been suggested to do 5 minutes of meditation or breath work, which is great, and it calms the nervous system. But if you don't know what's stressing you out and you're doing a practice, there's no way of bridging that transferability link that's critical to psychology. Okay. Now, let's assume you know what it is, and it is conversations with my boss. Now, the question comes in is, how do I mimic that situation often enough? The Stoics call it. It's called Stoicism. Ryan Holiday writes a lot about it. A lot of people speak about it. Okay, Stoicism is living your fear, living that situation. Now, how can you mimic conversations with your boss so that you can mimic that stress level to understand how your body responds to that in some shape and form? Now, one is mimicking that. The second thing is also practicing it, standing in front of a mirror and having that conversation, visualizing those conversations and becoming familiar with those words that you'd like to use. All of that there will take a stressful situation into a eustress situation where it becomes a motivator and you raise your game. This is what artists do. This is what actors do on stage. This is what athletes do, is that we play out an entire situation in our mind, understanding all of the variables, understanding how it's going to play, visualizing the crowd, doing all of those things. My Indian football team, for example, every single day we start our day with 45 minutes of meditation and visualization. Every single day as a team, right? And we visualize not just positive aspects, but a lot of negative aspects. We visualize every single thing. When the team is down, how are we going to come back? How are we going to talk to people? How are we going to support them? We do a lot of power poses. So this is the problem between positive stress and negative stress. It's the work that has to be in between that links one to another or converts one from another that people don't often do.
I hope you enjoyed this clip from my podcast series called Masters Decoded. The intention of bringing these clips to you is to allow you to understand some key moments of the conversations I've had with my guest. I would recommend and highly encourage you to listen to the entire podcast, which you can find the link to the podcast in the description below. I look forward to you subscribing to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of all the future clips which we keep releasing every week on this channel.